Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Kristina Moyer and I'm a two-dimensional artist. In this video, I'm going to show you my process of painting this blue jay having a little bath. It's such a cute little picture, cute little bird, and just want to say thank you to Trina to continue letting me use some for photography to create paintings. And this is one of the pieces that I was really excited to create because look at that blue jay. Like, let's just see, first of all, the fun background to paint, I used kind of this fluffy textured background and to kind of give it a muted space for my blue jay to really stand out in front of. And the blue jay, look at that hair. Like I guess it's the feathers, but the top of the head is just so cool the way that it came out. And then just the splatters of water everywhere is such a fun image. I was so excited to paint it. Just unusual from some of the other ones I've done, and just not a way that you normally see a bird. So really fun. Having its bath, kind of looking up like, hey, what's going on here? So, and I love blue, so blue is really fun. And we don't get really exotic colors really in Alberta, I don't think. There are, some reds, some yellows, some blues, but you don't get those tropical birds really. So it's fun to get a blue color that we can really make pop for a bird painting. So yeah, so the reddish background really helps to push that blue color and make it pop even stronger, because that reddish orangey color is, they're complementary colors, so they're opposite on the color wheel. So if you want to make a color really stand out, put it next to its complementary color, so something opposite from the color wheel. It doesn't have to be directly opposite, but further away than nearby. So if you have blue next to a bit of green, it might not stand out the same way as if you put blue next to orange. They'll make each other pop. So it depends on what you're trying to achieve in terms of your emphasis. So for this piece, I started with, so sometimes if you've seen any of my other time lapses, I'll create kind of a silhouette and then kind of build from that. I did this one a bit different. I sketched out like I normally do with a pencil crayon onto the background once it's fully dry. And in this instance, I decided to just go ahead and start adding my like blue tones and then whites and darks and just start layering from there. And part of the reason I did that is because it didn't have the same feeling of underlying black or dark feathers or shadows as some of my other pieces. And it just seemed right considering the background itself was already kind of darker. Some of my other pieces, they had really light backgrounds. Like the previous one, Snow on the Nose, it had a really light background. And so if I were to paint, other colors on top of it, you wouldn't have that same level of depth happening underneath. So that's one reason I'm doing that. So you can see I've mostly been using, I think exclusively actually, my angular brush, and it's just this small brush that I use all the time. I really love it. And I'm switching back and forth to my liner brush, script liner brush, which I recently acquired and really loved having, especially to sign my paintings at the end. Especially on these smaller ones, when you're signing on a slight larger canvas, you can use a bigger brush. But when you're doing painting on a canvas that's only 4 by 4 inches, or this one is a 6 by 6 inch, you want to keep your signature pretty small. You don't want it to be, too dominant in the piece. At least I don't. So I try to kind of choose a color that matches the piece. So I'm painting the full bird first, and then you're going to see it's going to sit in a bird bath. So it's kind of fun to see how this one evolves in terms of the bird is kind of established, and then I start building the bird bath around it. And so when I started building this bird bath, for myself, it's not the star of the show. The star of the show is the bird. So for me, getting the perspective of the bird is more important than, say, all the details, like getting them exact in terms of this textured pattern that you'll see come about in just a moment here. So adding that first layer that's kind of the neutral tone, middle tone, and then I can add highlights and lowlights is quite effective method if you're a beginner painter or intermediate, that kind of thing. I'm assuming if you're advanced, you have your own method already, so that's kind of why I'm excluding you, but maybe that will help you too. I don't know. But I'm sure you have an established method if you consider yourself an advanced painter. So yeah, I'm just working out the texture. I've created my pattern based on the image that I was given, but kind of just went with something not totally exact to the image, like the photograph that I'm looking at. I want to get some of those details in by coloring and form and that type of thing so that it looks realistic, but I'm not too worried about getting that exact just because I don't want to allocate my time into something that's not going to be super useful, because I find it's effective in the end. And so you try to attack it in a way that makes sense, for the time it's going to take. So yeah, I want the emphasis on the bird, and so that's why I'm I want the bird bath to look fun, to look good, but that's not the emphasis. So now we have this fun part where we have this splatter of, looks almost like rain, but it's from the bird just splashing around, and that's why it has that feathers. The feathers are sticking up funny ways. So I just used that angular brush and different levels and sizes and spots where I've put these little droplets, and I am using my image quite closely, but again, for this I don't need to be so precise because really they could go anywhere, but you don't want it to be too much like a checkerboard, right? You want it to be kind of like this natural look, and when you have splatters of water, you have areas where they're more dense than others, so you'll have little clusters, and I use that as a guide when I look at my photograph. And when I use the larger ones that are kind of blurred out, or maybe they're not in focus and that's why they're kind of blurry looking and softened, I'll just use more water and kind of less paint, and that will kind of give me that effect. You can see I've chosen the bottom right to paint my initials into. I try to pick a spot that makes sense for the composition of my piece. And for then this particular painting, I decided to paint the black edge. I don't always do this. Sometimes in my initial process of painting the background, I will paint the sides as well, but I just thought that I wanted that kind of cutting edge look. So for me, with this particular one, that's what worked. I hope you enjoyed this video and this painting. Let me know in the comments below. Give me a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. We'll see you next time.